Hi, I'm Andy Halsman. This is part two of Why Your Marriage Fails. In part one, I was starting to talk about how to set limits or why folks have difficulty setting limits. Now, setting limits is a result of your training in a lot of ways in your family of origin. So it's also a lot about kind of who you are and how you handle stress and how you handle feelings not being validated and not seeming to be cared about. So in relationships, just to recap, people act out. They are raging. They're emotionally abusive. They can have an affair. They can eat too much, drink too much. They can act in. They can just swallow their feelings. They can not talk about what's going on with them. And both of those are not very conducive to changing the relationship because there's a lack of communication. A lot of people talk about, well, there's no communication in our relationship. Well, communication is more than just talking. Communication is emotional expression. And if you're feeling things, if you're having a reaction to what the person who you are connected to and love and spend all your time with is doing, and you're not able to really bring that up, instead you swallow it or you find a way to take care of yourself outside of the relationship, well, that's going to doom the relationship. Maybe over time, maybe right away. Just depends on how much you can take. So sometimes people stay in relationships, as I said, for some unspecified amount of time. So until I'm ready to go, or maybe it's a specified time when the kids are 18 and they're out of the house and they're just biding their time. And they're biding their time by swallowing their feelings, not paying attention to what's going on with them, and just kind of putting their head down and going forward. And that's not a very intimate, not a very close relationship. And that sounds very painful to think about. So, setting limits. Setting limits means being aware of your feelings, being aware not only of what's happening and what the other person is doing or not doing, but aware of how you feel about that. So, they may do things that just get under your skin. They may, your partner, that is, may do something that just irritates the heck out of you. And the irritation is the important part of that rather than what they're doing. They're being themselves. They're doing something because of their own family of origin issues and because of their own way, their own personality, their own way of doing things. So if you're bothered by something and you don't bring it up, well, that's one part of it. But if you're not even aware of it, then that's a real difficulty. So the first part is, what am I feeling? Am I angry? Am I sad? Am I hurt? Am I frustrated? Am I bored? Am I tired? There's lots of emotions that, folks do not really pay attention to or don't know how to name. So most of the time people will say I'm frustrated or I'm angry or I'm sad, but there's a lot of other emotions. But even with those, your partner is going to bring up feelings for you. So the first part is, what's this about for me? And the second part might be, why is this so important to me? I'm feeling this very, very strongly. When my partner is late all the time, or my partner forgets to accomplish a task that we've agreed upon, this brings up very strong feelings for me. And what's that about? And then there's the ability, possibly, maybe with some direction like therapy, to be able to talk about why that's so important, what that brings up, where that's coming from. Is that an abandonment issue? Is that a control issue? Is that a shame issue? Where are these issues based in? Are they based in on my mother or my father or something in my family that if I'm aware of, I can be real about how I'm talking as opposed to just ordering the person around or raging or trying to control or shutting down. So if you're aware of your feelings, then you have the ability to say, this brings up the abandonment that I had from my fill in the blank, from my father not being there because my parents got divorced when I was young. And the possibility of intimacy exists. The possibility of connection exists. So if you're aware of your feelings, then that's a big part of it. The next part is, and sometimes the harder part, is being able to talk about those feelings, being able to feel safe enough And this is not about your partner. Your partner may not be a safe person, and you'd have to find that out. But your partner may be a very safe person who you, because of your own issues, are not giving them the chance to really step up to the plate and pay attention to you. Because if you're expressing it in a way that's raging and scary, they're going to be cowed or defensive. Or if you're not saying anything at all, they're going to fill in the vacuum with their own stuff. They're not going to pay attention to you because you're not there. So that's the problems with acting out and acting in. And the problem with not setting limits is you don't get to be known. You don't get to be heard. You don't get to be cared about and validated in the way that you need to be. So if you're aware of it and then you're able to express this and take action with what you feel, then things have the possibility of changing. They have, I'm not saying that all marriages will last and no marriages will fail. I'm saying the possibility exists, which many, many people do not take because they try kind of part way and they don't get the response they want and they go away. They shut down because that's what they've learned to do. Again, family. They've learned to do that in their life. They've learned to do that in their family of origin, in their past relationships, in hurts that they've encountered. They go away, whether it's physically or emotionally, they're going away. And if you don't go away and you keep at it and you keep at it in the right way as opposed to the wrong way, as opposed to hitting your head against the wall. So I'm saying a lot of things here. I mean, this is what therapy is really about. You're paying attention and talking about this in a way that has some power and has some ability to be heard because you're coming from a real place as opposed to doing something that's going to bring up defensiveness or nothing in your partner. And the more you're able to do this in this healthy way, where you're saying, hey, look, this is my abandonment issue, this is my control issue, this is my shame issue that's based in where I'm coming from and who I am, then the possibility exists, and I say it that way, the possibility exists that the relationship can be more intimate, that the person can really hear you. Doesn't mean that you're doing everything there or they're going to do everything that you want them to do. It's not about control. It's more about connection. And if you have that connection, then you don't have to hide in the relationship. So thank you for listening. Again, I'm Andrew Holzman, 317-457-8668 or aholzman2 at comcast.net. That's my email. And I work at Family Tree Counseling in Carmel, Indiana. Thank you for listening. And like I said, this is part 2 of Why Marriages Fail.